not even looking at it. But yeah, so we've moved on through Survivor and Amazing Race fame. We're towards the back end of the podcast.
Well, yeah, and you've been here for a year now, you say?
Yeah, so here's what happened. So I get here, I move here in March. In April, they call me and they're like, I see caller ID on my phone is like blowing up. And I see that it's this woman from casting at CBS. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking this call. Because they've called me before to come back on Survivor. And it's very difficult to say no. Especially like I was telling you, Lynn is incredibly talented as like, you know, a salesman, if you will. And I can't say no to Lynn. And I just didn't want to have the conversation. So I don't answer all day. I see that they're hitting me up. Then she messages me on Facebook. Call me, please call me. And I'm like, So I'm thinking either two things. One, they're going to ask me back on Survivor. Or two, they're going to ask for a friend of mine. Sometimes when, in the beginning, they used to do this thing where they would be on my Facebook and they'd see like another pretty girl and they'd be like, does your friend want to maybe? And I'm like, no, dude.
That's fucked
I'm
up.
the only one of my friends that's done Survivor. I'm not going to try and water down my fame by letting you get somebody else that's in my friend group. So I like deleted most casting people.
Do you want to give a shout out to your friends that are listening to this that have been gotten a nod verbally, but you never confirmed it?
So anyways, finally
Tanya.
at the end of the day, I take the call and I said, this is my exact words. I was like, if you're not calling me to give me Chase Rice's phone number, I have nothing to do with you. So Chase Rice is the most, to me, like he's this real hot country singer that was on before he was famous. So I was like, she laughed and I said, I don't want to be on Survivor. And she goes, that's fine. We're not calling you to be on Survivor. I said, what do you want? So I'm like, here we go. It's one of my fucking pretty friends that you want. And she goes, we're calling you to be on Amazing Race. I was like, yes, when? I definitely want to do that. I didn't ask any questions, which is very unlike me. Like, I was like, I'll quit my job. I'll do whatever. I said, and like 6 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, wait, don't you have to play with a partner? Who's my partner? Which is like, usually should have been your first thought.
Right.
So they're like, Eliza Orleans. And I'm like, okay. Like, real weird pick just because we didn't play any seasons together. I mean, I hung out with her a handful of times, but like, she's like, your best friend Eliza. And I'm like, sure, my best friend Eliza. She is now my best friend. But when we did the show, like, we
was
had
it because she couldn't ride a motorcycle scooter? Was that when y'all got eliminated?
Yes.
That was that episode?
I mean, there was more, but yeah. To be clear, I couldn't ride a moped either.
No, I mean, I'm not knocking her for it.
But, yeah, they had this perception that her and I were best friends, and they loved this narrative of like two ballsy Jews from New York. Like 90% of this was I'm not from New York, I'm from Florida. Eliza and I knew each other, yes, but like it was
Wait,
yeah.
Are y'all being Jews that big of a swing vote? Like, so me and
Well,
my
it's
dad
more-
being
it's
Gentiles don't have nearly
it's not that.
the
It's
pull?
No, it's
or
just
Chris and his dad, who obviously hates him because he's gay and also an atheist. Does that also happen?
That's not true, but
so for the record, I'm an atheist, but no, it's more that it's the personality. They just thought we would clash. They thought we would, and we did. I mean, we were very dramatic. We got in fights with people. Like we delivered. Trust me, They were happy with our performance, despite the fact that we went out early. But like, real talk, could you not have given me a male counterpart? Like, I was the male of the two of us, and like, I'm not exactly brute strength.
I gotcha. And I still don't even know what goes on in the Amazing Race, so I'm totally
you perform
clueless.
tasks.
You can
So
assume.
like get
So-
like, tips to where you're headed next.
Right.
It's
and it's all over the world.
Yeah, well, most of it.
Okay. Anyways.
You hit like most.
But where I was going with the whole, like, so you've been in Denver for about a year. So we got to ask you about some of your favorite spots around town.
Oh yeah, sure.
I forgot.
So my favorite. Okay.
Oh, wait, we have actually preconceived questions that will
Oh,
actually
shit,
help
go ahead.
break this down. So, but we want to know
I thought you were
your,
going to say we have spots we've already determined are your favorite.
Since we
Yeah.
did,
You're going to say this.
very much like CBS. This
Yeah.
is your new best friend.
No.
This is your new best restaurant. No.
Normally we kind of begin with your favorite, like, happy hour spot, but
Okay.
we cover the dating game pretty extensively. So where's your favorite date night spot?
To be taken. To be taken. Not take something
Yes.
like, not if you're recommended, but if someone else is recommended. We're getting more food after
So
this.
I guess I'm a little different in that. First of all, if you're going to take me somewhere that, again, it needs to be somewhere convenient for me and not you. Like, there's nothing worse than someone who's like, I'm like, where do you live? And they're like, Wash Park. Where do you live? Rhino. Oh, great. Want to meet me at this bar in Wash Park? And I'm like, well, why didn't you pick somewhere in the middle or somewhere near me? So I have a bunch of caveats. I don't. Okay, so So
Well, maybe-
I like Los Chingones because it's near me. There's a rooftop. I love mezcal. They have good mezcal. Like I'm happy with that. Like that's a nice vibe for me.
Yeah.
And it's not super inconvenient. But the reality is I'm really down for an adventure. So if you invite me to like the best dive bar, like it wasn't a date, but a guy friend of mine was like, I'm going to take you to this dive bar. They only accept cash. Like it's just like a shitty hole in the wall. I play pool there.
It.
If you said it, I would know it, but I don't know if I could name it offhand.
Horseshoe? Pon?
No, Pon Pon's good though.
I do like Pon.
Lion's
my
Lair,
Is Lion's Lair cash only?
Squire. No.
No,
Yeah,
but it was
I mean,
like
I guess we
real
need neighborhood.
dirty, but it was fun. Well, one of my favorite dates. Now, this guy ended up coming fresh out of prison. This guy.
What the fuck?
So this guy, the reason he got a date with me is he was cute,
All
but
right.
he had I have a pet alpaca. So I have an alpaca. I board him at a farm in Brighton, and I think that's like a unique pet, right?
Yeah.
I named him Tupaka Shakur. Fine. So I dressed him up. He has it on Instagram. This guy was like, he had a caiman, like an alligator. And I was like, I gotta meet him. Like, I gotta meet him so I can meet this fucking alligator. Caiman, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Okay, so, his first date, he says to me, he goes, do you like to gamble? And I was like, on this fucking date?
Yeah, you do.
And he goes, I know an off-track betting place,
Oh, did you
downstairs.
go to my friend at the Celtic?
Yes.
Yeah,
I loved that as a first date. He gave me money,
Those
which
are
was
my
weird.
guys. Oh my
And
God,
he was
we
like,
may
what do you
really
want to
be
bet on? And I
kindred
was like,
spirits.
so I bought the sports book and like I bet on horses and dogs, which was really fun. And I ended up.
Greyhounds can get fickle, can't they?
Yes, but I'm really good at betting. My sister-in-law is the large equine vet for the Kentucky Derby, so I ended up winning us like $380. So then he's like, all right, where are you going to go? We went to drinks and dinner, and then he took a hard right turn, and it turns out that he'd spent 6 months in prison. He's fresh out. It wasn't anything major. It was a third DUI, which, again, after the first two, you couldn't take... Did I not already espouse
So the guy wasn't a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, no. But he showed up in this beautiful gray suit. Like, he seemed like he had his shit together. It got worse from there. He had a daughter, and he's like, don't worry, I hate
these
her.
Jokes write themselves.
And I was like, why
that's
do
a
you
court-appointed suit.
Yeah. I was like, well, it's...
I got to listen to your podcast. Holy
Yeah.
I
fuck.
can't wait. And
He hated his daughter, for the record, because he was dating a woman. The daughter was 12. The woman had a son, and the daughter started fucking the son.
I'm not, okay.
do you just want to come join this podcast?
I'm really confused.
I feel like
Yeah.
you're dating.
I could use somebody who knew how to do audio. I don't know what I'm doing.
But I feel like
I feel like we could use someone that's.
I feel like
as
that would be
abrasive as you are.
that would be a deal killer if I was like, yo, I have a daughter. I fucking hate her, so not a big deal anymore.
Well,
Like,
well, he was like, I know you don't
Hey,
like children.
Hey, let's not talk about fat guy like that.
ooh, fat guy, burn.
Yeah.
Who's fat guy?
He's a buddy of ours. He's got a kid with a stripper, and he always jokes. I mean, he loves her
Yeah.
dearly, but he always is
No,
like,
this
damn
guy-
it, got the kid this weekend.
This guy wasn't kidding. He was like, I know you don't like children. I do have a daughter. I just want to let you know that I hate her, and I never really see her. And I was like, wow.
Guess who I
Coming in hot.
Guess what I hate more than kids? People that are
Deadbeat
shithead
dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that are shithead fathers. Yeah.
I was,
So,
and then he was
go
like,
fuck-
he goes, don't you
so-
want to know why? And I was like, not really. It doesn't feel like first date conversation. And he's like, I'm going to tell you anyway.
Be like, guess what? This date's going to end right after you and I sneak off to the bathroom for just a quick minute as a quickly
It was-
evicted convict.
Okay, so I guess maybe I guess I phrased that question wrong.
I think
Where
that we
was,
why did we even talk
Off-track
about
betting was, so I love an activity. If you take me axe
That's a
throwing,
great
if you
call.
take me karaoke, whatever, activities. So just for you guys.
Active drinking.
You guys are both single, right?
Yes.
Are you not single?
Chris is like
Why
on
is
his
he-
he's like 4 dates in with some chick. That's not,
Okay, so Chris is single.
I mean, he's not fucking anybody else, but by the time this airs,
There you go.
there's a good chance she's broken up with him. So who gives a
probably so.
So, all right. So here's a thing that my brother taught me. My brother's a doctor, and when he was going through rotation, he
Yes,
went
we
through,
know about condoms. My dad
No,
taught me.
no, please. He went through a psych rotation, and I asked him just coincidentally, like years ago. I was like, I have this guy I'm meeting tonight, and I'm really excited, and I just want the date to go well. And he's like, if you really want the date to go, like, you want to be memorable, go to multiple locations. He goes, so here, let me teach you something. He goes, what's your favorite nightclub in New York City? And at the time, it was a place called Marquee. I said, Marquee. He goes, okay. How many times do you think you've been to Marquee? I'm like, 500. Bottle service every time. Like, each night was amazing. And he goes, can you remember one night from the other? I said, no. And he's like, it's because cognition doesn't work like that. You're stamping the atmosphere, the smells, the sounds, everything. He goes, so if you like this guy and you want him to remember you, you have appetizers at one place, stamp. You have food at another place, stamp. You have a port wine somewhere else, stamp. You have dessert somewhere else, stamp. He goes, you're giving all of the...
Yeah, I could have told you that.
Let me tell you something. It's called a Feidelberg, and this is a move pulled by, and his name's John Feidelberg. He does another podcast called KFC Radio. But what he does is he asks you, what do you despise? Like, what's the worst date you've ever had? Where was it? And they'll say, like, this guy, was an asshole to me at the MoMA or whatever, like shitty art music.
Oh, let me redo that memory. I do that.
Make the worst kind of, let me prove that if I can make your worst date ever a great date, then I gotcha. And that's his motif. So I'm giving him full credit. Don't let anybody let me say that I'm stealing his credit. But I've also used his breakup techniques, which is also a fantastic
I always
methodology.
wear white pants if I think someone's breaking up with me.
Why? Because then they can see like your ass crack. Very hard to break up with me in a pair of white pants.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Well played.
Thank you.
Well played. We don't have that method, John. I wear tighter jeans so you can see the outline of how far do you have down my junk goes. It's a benefit that many folks know. Some folks know about. Many folks know about. But
so I have that mentality. Like every boyfriend I ever had in when I lived in California, I would make them do this wine tour in Temecula because I want to make a new memory so I can mask the old memory. Like I would do all the same things every time I got a new guy in the same places so I could like bury the old memory. So it's the same but different. But I didn't know anyone else did that.
Yeah, and I've heard it on a podcast. And when I heard it, I was like, that's fucking genius. But instead, I just swipe right and either convince them to meet me for cocktails or just convince them to come straight over. It's a very easy, simple process. There's not a lot of like thought. There's no Freudian thoughts going on in my head.
There's no point in which I would let someone just come to my apartment.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I haven't come to mine, which again takes balls on them because, I mean, I'm not a killer, but at the same time, I would never go to someone's apartment. I'd rather take them out for a cocktail first and then, like, when you say come near your apartment for a date, I lick my chops at that opportunity because then I feel like, perfect, I'm going to be able to court her perfectly, and then she'll be like, oh, I'm going to go home, I'll walk her home, and then it's the classic key jiggle or the classic stall or the whatever you want to, whatever.
You've been watching way too many rom-coms.
And they all fucking work. I have a very high success ratio of dating apps, so it does count, but they all fucking work. So going to your side of town makes it a lot easier because they're not as worried going to a dude. They'd be more worried to go to a dude's house after a date than going
You're right.
to.
And sure, if things are going like super well.
First date closing on a dating app is the least uncommon thing in the world.
Yeah, so
especially with Bumble and Tinder and Hinge. If you're paying for one, I would imagine it'd make it a little bit more of a battle. The free ones, I feel like you kind of get what you pay for.
Here's a fun fact. I just talked about this on my podcast, but I sometimes take no, that's wrong. I take Ambien pretty much every night. And I know better than to keep my phone near me because I've done some dumb shit. I mean, I could get into the stories, but I traveled internationally and I didn't time it right. And during the layover, I made it to the next flight. I thought everything was cool. I landed to a receipt from Amazon because I bought 25 turbans. Because one turban wouldn't be enough. 25. So anyways, I wake up one morning and I think everything's fine. I look at my phone, receipt for the $90 Bumble Elite subscription. So I am actually paying for Bumble. I have the Elite membership, which just means I can see who's liked me. Instead of sifting through everybody, I'm only looking at people who have already liked me.
And then you can just do
right. Anytime I swipe yes, it's already a yes. I wouldn't recommend it. And
so
the 6 months ends
like
August 17th.
Yeah, I mean, so you've already canceled that subscription, right? And you realize
I can't until August 17th, but I will.
I mean, you can cancel them on the app. So for those listening home, you are in the same boat as you somehow.
I don't understand.
Do you have Tinder Plus and you're just not
I don't have
us?
Tinder at all. I got off Tinder.
I've used Ashley Madison on occasion. I'm not an asshole that slept with a married person on the app. It turns out there's a lot of slutty
the married
singles.
guy, he ended up divorcing his wife, and they both agreed that I was the best thing that happened because they both have happier lives now, even though we didn't end up together.
So we didn't really talk about that, and we won't dive too terribly deep into that. But, yeah, you had just an ongoing relationship with a man that was already married. Was his wife aware of the situation?
She had her own boyfriend.
So it was just an open relationship.
It wasn't in the beginning.